Welcome in, builders. This week we're taking a look at another of the big four undead factions of Middle Age with Nazca, Kingdom of the Sun. Nazca is a mountain necrocracy of winged humanoids. It was once a far-off Caelum colony, but with the fall of the raptors and the disappearance of the Eagle King's contact with Caelum was broken, and the descendants of the Eagle Kings became the Nazcan Sun Kings, Incas. With the demise of the last Eagle Kings, steps were taken to preserve the wisdom of the kings of old. The necromantic practices of the Raptor Can were not banned in Nazca, and the divine kings were mummified and preserved, should their advice be needed in the future. Priests of the dead began to mummify other influential members of society as well. Since old kings and queens were supposed to be wiser than the living, a council of mummies was formed to aid and guide the Incas. The priests would listen to the mummies and divine their will. Now, Nazca has turned into a necrocracy, a kingdom ruled by mummies of the Silent Council. The Sun Kings rule in their name, but it is the mummies of ancient kings and their interpreters who have the true power of the kingdom. The mummies of nobles and priests are transported to and fro to decide judicial matters as well as attend feasts and ceremonies. The royal mummies are too valuable to disturb unless the matters at hand are of the utmost importance. The ice crafting of Caelum has been lost, and Nazca uses light armors of cloth and bronze. Nazcans can field vast armies of unskilled soldiers. Commoners indebted to the mummies, allied soldiers from conquered human mountain kingdoms, and walking dead reanimated by the mummies of dead priests form most of the armies of the kingdom. As previously mentioned, this is one of the big four undead nations of Middle Age, and it's hard to rank them because they're all very good in their own right, but this is a combination of undead, high useful mages, and chaff undead. This is pretty strong. Let's check their national features and find out why. For a race, we have flying cold resistant, we have commanders are mummified on death, and we prefer cold scales of +1. For military, we can recruit flying units. We get free recruits of low quality. We have reanimated dead, and we have the sacred sun guard. For magic, we have fire, earth, air, death, astral, and a little nature. Our priests are very powerful. Undead priests can do reanimation. That is very, very powerful. We can use the priest command on our undead holy units, and they will be able to raise dead, including up to one of our sacred summons, which is very, very nice. For scales and blesses, we have an order limit of +1, we have a cold limit of +1, and a death limit of +1. Downside here, we are still building primitive fort. So this is the build it and do one upgrade level of fort. It is okay. However, we are going to struggle economically if we get too many mummies that we need to support. So you have to be a little bit careful with how fast you are ramping up that upkeep. But if you can afford it, you can get some very good units out of that and still have some cheap chaffy units to sit in front of your mages and buy you time to cast all kinds of spells to get your sacreds buffed up and ready to fight. It works pretty well on this nation. For sites, we have two sites. We have the Palace of the Sun Kings. This gives us a fire gem, an air gem, and an astral pearl, and it gives us the recruitment of our cap onlys, which are Inca, Quaya, and the Sun Guard unit. And we have the Tomb of the Sun Kings. This gives us a death and an earth, so quite a wide splashing of gems. It enables the recruitment of the Royal Malachite and the recruitment of Condor Warriors, so another sacred recruitable. Overall, that's pretty good spread of gems. It's unfortunate that it's not a little more concentrated in the gems that we really, really, really want, but it is also nice just to have a little smattering if you want to fund some site searching spells or craft a few items. Overall, it's a pretty good set of sites. Units and sacreds. For units, we have a okay spread here, and we do have some summonable sacreds, which is always rather nice. We have, first up, the Hatun Runa. This is a very, very basic militia level chassis. This is our bird chassis, similar to our fliers, or are our fliers. They're wielding a mace. They have cloth armor, a leather cap, and a hide shield. They are slaves. Do remember, slaves pay almost nothing in upkeep, so 2 gold per year. I probably would never get these guys. 7 morale is just asking for trouble. Maybe help hold up a fort. They do have siege defense strength of 1.0, and they're very, very cheap, but they wouldn't really do much in a siege, unfortunately. They do have siege strength of 2.0 each, which is really nice, but we have plenty of other things that would be just as good at sieging and would actually still be useful. Next up, we have several of our human warriors that we can recruit. We have human warrior, can be recruited in all highlands and mountains. This is bog standard human, wielding a bronze spear, has a cloth armor and a leather cap, so very badly equipped. They're also undisciplined, mountain survival, cold resistance. Overall, good for catching lances, I would say. Next up, we have human warrior again. This guy is equipped with a hide shield, though. Generally speaking, I think paying the, what is the premium here? No premium. The hide shield is free. Buy one, get one free. I would go with the shield. I don't see why you particularly would not want to get that. Still undisciplined, still dirt cheap. Next up, we have human warrior again. This one has a mace and sling. Do note, while he's not particularly great with the mace, it does do 16 blunt damage. 16, as I keep mentioning, is my magic number for middle age. 16 is kind of standard heavy armor of the era, and this lets you at least have a chance to do damage to it. Otherwise, very, very human. Low protection here. If you're going to get some of these guys, you're going to need a big swarm. They're hard to buff, but they would sure like some buffs. Mist form or some earth protection or something. Even temper armor. They do have all 3 pieces armored up. Adding a plus to that would be rather helpful. Finally, for humans, we have human warrior yet again. This one has a mace and javelin. This is my generic preferred one. The spears for catching lances or maybe having to stay in combat, but I think the javelins are probably better maybe. I don't know. I suppose with the slings, if you did have fire arrows, that would be one thing that could help you out here. But do know you have a lot of flying sacreds, and it's going to make you very sad if you're hitting your flying sacreds with your own fire arrows. So I don't know how great that would be. They're also undisciplined, which makes them kind of spread out, and that's hard to put flaming arrow buffs onto those type of troops. So something to know you can do, even if maybe it's pretty niche. All right, finally getting up into some better stuff. We have the Alcock Runa Spearman, our basic flying fighter, slightly better than human stats here. Very nice and cheap. 10 gold, 7 resources, 9 recruitment points. 11 morale is fine. They're only 8 gold per year. That's not going to break the bank. They have a bronze lance. I do believe I double-checked the lance damage here, and it's 5 damage. So you get an extra bonus of 5 on that initial hit from a charge. So that's 18 piercing damage once, and then you drop down to 13. I do get these guys to bulk out if I need some extra hold and attack rear chaff, essentially. Or I just want to be mobile with the army that they're with. The humans, one of their big weaknesses is that they're very slow compared to all of our flyers, obviously. So it can be hard if you're relying on them to be your chaff and you need to reposition quickly. You're going to be at chaff speed, not at your full flying force speed, which is very noticeable for an otherwise pretty mobile army. Armor-wise, they have reinforced cloth armor, reinforced leather cap, and hide shield. Their protection is up to 8. Oh boy. But again, they sure like some buffs, and at least these ones are no longer undisciplined, so they could maybe hold still for a couple buffs. Next up, we have the Alcock Runa Maceman. Same guy, but he's wielding a mace. Do note that they both have an 11 attack, so that is notable for being above the 10 average, and he does 16 blunt damage. Totally usable if you feel like mace is going to be better than a lance. Definitely usable. In grind combat, not something we love to do, but in grind combat, once that lance uses up the initial hit, it's only 13 damage versus this one having 16 damage. that could be pretty pertinent depending on what you're fighting. Next up, we have the Runa Axeman. This is a bronze hatchet wielder. Nope, we went up to 12 attack. That's pretty darn good. Not hitting things means you are guaranteed to do no damage. So we trade 1 damage off of the mace for 1 attack. I would say good trade here. 15 slashing damage is close to that 16 magic number. These guys are all right. They have the reinforced cloth and cap, and they have the hide shield. Again, not really breaking the bank up here either. 10 gold, 7 resources, 9 recruitment points. Next up, we have the Runa Archer. Has a mace, has a short bow, reinforced cloth cap, and cloth armor, or leather cap, excuse me. There's short bows in middle age. I'm not in love with that. At least these guys are disciplined. So if you do go fire arrows, they'll hold still for you to be able to buff them. I do kind of like these guys on fire and keep distance, but do know they're actually kind of slow on combat speed. So if you're counting on them to shoot and then like scoot away, they're going to get caught if you don't position them very carefully. So just know and be careful about that. That's the way you're trying to use them. These guys would be nice to be able to fly into a fort to help defend it if you see a siege coming up, because at least inside a fort, they can shoot out and stay inside the fort, maybe backing up your door, etc., etc. Next up, we have the Condor Warrior. This is a cap-only sacred. Very basic. It is a sacred unit. It has our standard traits. In addition, it has storm immunity. Has the bronze lance with 14 damage, 12 attack. That is decent, but again, once you've used that lance head up, that's not great. We have a reinforced cloth armor. We have a bronze cap and a hide shield. Depending on your blessing, these guys are going to be more or less useful. We are definitely a nation that's going to take a pretty big bless, so hopefully whatever you end up taking will be helpful to these guys. If you don't like them, your other option is Sun Guard. Should be noted, 20 gold, 8 resources, 23 recruitment points. Still pretty cheap, but a little high on recruitment. When we go up to Sun Guard, though, now we're up to 14 resources and 27 recruitment. These are getting a little harder to pump out. Trait-wise, we have Sacred, we have Cold Resist, we have Flying, we have the Mountain Resistance, and we have Bodyguard 2. Having the Bodyguard's nice. We do have expensive things. We don't want them to die and get turned into even more expensive mummies most of the time. And once we have mummies, we wouldn't like them to get assassinated or die, although mummies are pretty safe as innate spellcasters to being assassinated. But if you need bodyguards, you need bodyguards, and we have them. Notable here, we are using a Sun Mace, 14 attack with a magic blunt 18 damage. That means we have magic weapons available. That is always nice to have that in your pocket. Even if you're not planning on using these guys, if you need a magic weapon, you need a magic weapon, and here it is. Unfortunately, a Sun Mace doesn't hit hard enough that these guys are particularly going to be like monolith killers, but for ghosts or something, they could totally fight that. We're just body ethereal being buffed onto things. These guys are also our heaviest troop at 12 protection, with a bronze scale halberd, a bronze cap, and a shield. So a very decent unit if this was early age, and a very mediocre unit as a middle-aged troop, but they are sacred, they are flying, they're fine, they're definitely usable. We have several sacreds that we can summon in. We will look at them when we look at magic, but just know we have some more summons coming. Heroes, commanders, and prophets. For heroes, we have 2. We have the Apostate Seraph. This is a Fire 1, Air 3, Water 2, Astral 2. Comes in with Adept Researcher +8, giving us 29 research as a hero, no upkeep, so that's pretty nice. Overall, a nice little splashing of paths here. I wouldn't say this is super duper special, but it's not bad either. It's not bad. A pretty good one. It does come in pretty old. This is pretty valuable. I wouldn't want to lose this. That'd be sad. We also have the first couple. This is a, I believe there's a king, king and his Koya that are mummified. They come in with Fire 2, Air 2, Earth 2, Astral 2, Death 4, Holy Priest 3. So quite a spread there. Note down here, they have the reanimation bonus, so they get extras out of that. They are also slaver units, if you want to do that. That would probably be a waste on this unit. They are Fortune Teller 20. like most of our mummies that we will look at, of course, they're undead, but they're also susceptible to fire. That's a pretty distinct weakness for mummies and something definitely to keep your eye on. Overall, just another strong hero here. For commanders, we have the Runancha. This is our scout. As far as scout goes, it's a 35 gold flying scout. You could do a lot worse than that. They do have the cold resist of our chassis. Those are pretty nice. Next up, we have a Karaka. This is a unit can be recruited in all the highlands and mountains. This is just a human leader. Not particularly amazing, only 75 leadership, unfortunately. They do have cold resistance and mountain survival. Fine for building forts, fine for moving some reinforcements around, but nothing particularly special here. I do appreciate he at least has a full set of gear, even if it isn't super high quality. Next up, we have Apu. This is another leader. This is not better, but I believe he's better armored. Protection 8. No, he's just our flying chassis. That's the difference here. He's equipped essentially the same. If he dies, he does get mummified. So watch out for just escalating amounts of mummies and maybe clear some of the less useful ones out, or just keep an eye on that upkeep because it can definitely sneak up on you. Do I have one sitting here I can show you? I do not have one at the moment, but yeah, just be careful. The upkeep on mummies can start getting out of hand. Next up, we have the Apu Squiskpe. This is another flying leader. Finally, we're seeing 100 leadership, so we can do formations. We are in slightly better gear with the bronze cap. I believe we did have bronze. Yeah, we had leather cap before. Again, just has that flying cold resistance combo. His main claim to fame here is the 100 leadership. Next up, we have a Maokai. These are our mummies with their pallbearers. This is the base one with high undead leadership, low normal leadership. He is sacred. Like all of our mummies, they're going to have pierce resistance. They're going to be susceptible to fire. They have cold resistance, poison resistance. They are undead. They're inanimate. That can bring you open to certain spells like shatter or things along those nature. It can only target inanimates. They don't eat. They have spirit sight. This one particularly is inspirational and is a slaver. Nope, not flying, of course, because they're carrying around a heavy chair. Next up, we have the Okla. This is our level 1 priest that also is a fire 1, air 1 mage. I believe this is she, will get mummified if she dies or if she is killed along with some of our other leaders. We have a mechanic where certain leaders, if they die, we sacrifice a leader of the opposite gender, and then they become a mummy couple together for eternity. You're going to need some of these. These are 9 research for 56 gold. That's relatively efficient. They would love to hold owl quills or other boosters for you. If you don't have enough blessings for some reason, then they could help with some of the blessings. Unfortunately, no random path, and this combination of pathing doesn't particularly do anything for us. So as a mage, they're kind of weak. Storm power into lightning is probably the best you can do here, or jar of fire. Use that to cast Phoenix power. That will get you up to fire 2, and then you could do some fire 2 stuff. Next up, we have the Maokai Priestess. This is the same thing we were just looking at, but now she has died and become a mummy. So same exact pathing here. Note we picked up the reanimation, so now we can reanimate undead. And we have Fortune Teller 10. So same mummy traits as we had before. 150 undead leadership, so we can move some big hordes of undead around if we need to. Do note, 170 gold. So the same unit goes from 56 up to 170. That is more than triple the cost. So be careful there. You are not more efficient as a researcher either. So yeah, watch out. That's going to creep up on you with this nation. Next up, we have the Huron Priest. Pretty good mage here. Do note, he's pretty pricey. 330 gold for a recruit cost is not cheap for just a mage. He is flying. He is our flying chassis, of course. He has the standard traits, a little bit weaker than human chassis, but we're cold resistant and we fly. If he dies, he gets mummified. He comes in with Earth 1, Death 2, Priest 2, and a random of Air, Earth, or Astral. So those are okay. Earth 2s obviously can Earth power and then get you into the good Earth. The Death guys can Horde of Skeletons or other death spells can be rather handy. The Air one's not really very useful here. Yeah, not particularly great with these pathings, unfortunately. And he's a priest level 2, so if you're using living Chaff, he can help with some sermons of courage, etc. Next up, we have the Malkai Priest. This is the same guy, but now he is a mummy. Again, he had 13 research for 132, right on efficiency. When he becomes a mummy, 340 gold for the same research. That is rather pricey. Next up, we have Inca. This is one of our cap onlys. And for him, he is Fire 2, Air 2, Priest level 3, and has a 10% chance of Fire, Air, or Astral. Very good mage. He's slow to recruit, cap only. A bit pricey, but I mean, compared to who we just looked at, that's not that much more for a holy level 3. He does come in with all 1. I don't think I want this expensive cap only slow to recruit mage to thug or anything, but who knows, maybe something gets on him and the awe could save him. He has shock resist, he has cold resist, he is flying, he has storm immunity, and he gets mummified. Now, special rule here, when an Inca dies, his spouse sacrifices herself to be mummified together with him in a mummy bundle. The mummy is then brought to the Tomb of Sons, again, proper burial rites, etc., etc. What that means is, if he dies and you have a Koya, the Koya will get killed too, and they will become a royal Malachi. If you have one die and there is no female, you only get some of the pathing on your royal Malachi. So it's a bit weaker. So you probably want to have pairs that if one dies, you get a full powered Malachi, because I don't believe 820. Let me check this guy. No, that's because he's my prophet. I don't have a good guy to check. Yeah, because you're just a priest and you were a priest. The upkeep's expensive. Let me just put it that way. The upkeep is rather expensive. As a mage, pretty good here. We can do fire stuff. We can do fire clouds, things like that. We do like cold, so the fire's kind of whatever. We have storm. We'd be interested in getting up. We do have certain things that are storm immune, or maybe we just want a storm to get rid of enemy arrows or certain spells, or so we could storm power. A very good mage here. Yeah, not much else to say about it. Having a Holy 3 is really nice. We do have a lot of sacreds, and that always is hard to bless, so it's just nice just to be able to guarantee that you'll be able to do that. In addition, because we have a Holy 3, that means if you make him your prophet, you'll be a Holy 4. Pretty nice. Next up, we have the Koya. This is, again, a cap-only recruit. She has Earth 2, Astral 2, Death 2, Priest 2, and a 10% chance of Fire, Air, Earth, Astral, Death. 30% isn't terrible. You'll get a few of those. Just our base chassis stats here. She does have okay HP for a mage. Soldier recruit, cap only, 445 gold. That 17 research for 182 is just under efficient, but you're not going to get these for researchers. You're going to get them for use, and these are just really good paths. It's expensive. I mean, that upkeep is nothing to sniff at 182, but tons of things you could do here. You could summon Earth Power to go up to Earth 3. You could Power of Spheres to go up to Earth 4 at that point, or just to add +1 to any of your other paths. So Earth 4 is pretty respectable. You can get some big Earth out there. Having summon Earth Power, plus maybe roll into a free death, so you're a Death 3 mage. You could do a lot of skelly spamming at that point, or do some bigger death stuff. We do have undead available to us, so getting her into a small communion for a rigor mortis could be something. Going into darkness could be something. Lots and lots of options here. Slow to recruit mage, but very useful. I think once you can afford it, you'd love to spam either Incas or Koyas almost every turn. And there's, because of the mummy mechanic, there's an argument to be made that you probably want one of each at any given point. Next up, we have the Royal Malachi. This is recruitable in the capital, but if one of these two gets killed, this is also what they turn into. Now, this one here assumes that we had an Inca and we had a Koya with no randoms. And when they died, their paths were combined into this. So we have Fire 2, Air 2, Earth 2, Astral 2, Death 2, Priest level 3. We have a 10% chance for Fire, Air, Earth, Astral, Death. Pretty darn powerful mage here, but 820 gold per year. If there's something with a higher upkeep, maybe a market, maybe? I don't know of anything that's that high. This is ridiculously expensive. 1,200 gold to recruit this. I would be very unlikely to just straight recruit these unless I am absolutely swimming in gold, or I just need the mages fast. Note, not slow to recruit. To make a mummy out of killing the other two, that is 4 turns of capital-only recruitment, whereas here I could get one of these per turn. That's a lot of pathing that you could just pump out at will. In addition, they do have that reanimation bonus, and this is up to 4/4, which is nice. That does refer to the first value is how much you reanimate with your priestly powers, and the second is your death magic. So it's the same in both cases here. Should be noted on these mummies, I don't think I called it out, they have innate spellcaster. Innate spellcaster means that you can cast spells in the same round that you move or attack with a normal weapon. You also are not hindered in melee with people that are trying to hit you. And you can disregard spell casting times, casting all spells at the same rate. So some of the big spells, like say Storm, that cast very slowly, we just cast at, I believe it's just 100% for every spell, or lower if the spell itself is lower. So that is really, really nice. And as mentioned here, be careful in communions because they can really tax them. But this is very taxing for slaves who will receive twice the usual amount of fatigue. So be aware of that. That's pretty spooky. In addition, we have some non-fort recruits. We have the Puckle of the Earth Mother, recruited in highlands and mountains. She brings in earth and nature. She has a heretic. Remember, heretics act as if they are preaching against any dominion present. They are fortune teller 10. They are disease healers, and they are inept researchers 4. So unfortunately, 5 research for 108 is not efficient. The heretic thing gives you an interesting angle where maybe you take really bad scales and you try to control your own scales via heretics and soak up somebody else's good scales. That can be rather dangerous in my opinion, but that is a pretty strong play if you're good at doing something like that. Next, we have the Puckle of the Mountain Spirits. This is an Air 1, Nature 1. He has shock resist, cold resist. He's a heretic. He's a disease healer. He does have Bringer of Fortune. That gives you extra chance of getting good events wherever they're at. But again, 5 research for 116. Not the best. Not the best. Bringer of Fortune is interesting, but you're never going to get enough of these guys in a single place to really stack that up, like you would say with like something for the Rusian line with Firebirds. So interesting, but maybe not the most useful. Who would I make my prophet? Well, let me introduce you to my prophet here. He started life as an Inca that I immediately just ran in and got killed. So he does not have a Koya paired with him. There was nobody else to sacrifice alongside him, but he was priest level 4 in life. He is still my prophet, and he is priest level 4 in death. Why is that interesting? Well, remember, we can do undead summoning via our priests, and that depends on your priest level. So if we look here under reanimate, because we are a priest level 4, we can actually call in supayas, our sacred summon. Our sacred summon. That is really, really nice. And we get 3 of them. Or we could go down to 13 long dead warriors. And that's probably what I would go with. If you, for some weird reason, want soulless or ghouls, you can do it. But I would not suggest either one of those. Stick with these 2. And on your holy 4, I would definitely go with supayas for sure. Being able to summon in respawn sacreds is absolutely amazing. Very, very powerful. So that would almost like 99% of the time be what I would say you would want to profit. If you have to do this later on, do note that it's probably going to kill off one of your other female mages. So you'll have more pathing here, but you're not really going to use that. So that would be really unfortunate. Hopefully you can keep this guy safe and he can be your prophet for the game. Very, very nice here. What a great lineup we have of commanders on this nation. This is just good stuff. Plenty of usable stuff. Decent mages that can mostly do stuff. The Akala, maybe a little less, but she's your main researcher, so that's fine. We have some heretics, which open up some different strategies. We do have a little bit of nature. That's not going to be very strong on this nation, but having the fire, earth, air, and death, and astral in usable amounts is very, very nice. Very, very nice. And I think we can do some good work with these different units. National items and spells. As for national items, we actually have a national item. We have, where are you? A mask. Here we are. And greater magic items. This is construction level 5. This is the hookah headdress. This requires fire magic level 2 and costs 10 fire gems. So we can natively do this. The 10 fire gems is a little bit pricey. Make sure you get out there and do your site searching. Why do you care about this? This is a pretty good item. +1 inspirational, +25 leadership, magic command, undead command. All those are nice. But this also will give you the divine glow of the headdress will make the huacas and their supaya ghosts arrive in greater numbers and allow royal maokais to reanimate additional supayas. 1 extra per month for holy reanimation and 2 extra for magic rituals. This is very notable. That's a nice bump to your sacred production. So, and it's not using the gems that you're using for those summons. That's very nice. Every one of your guys doing summons is going to want one of these on. It is all the rage in mummy fashion. Beyond that, item-wise, I do want to call out specifically the Amulet of the Dead right here. Amulet of the Dead gives you divine reanimation bonus of 2, ritual reanimation bonus of 2. Now, this will not apply to your supayas, I don't believe, but it would apply to long dead or any of the lesser undead. So if you do have like some priest level 2s or maybe even some 3s that you're just trying to get some bulk chaff undead for combat use, this is rather nice. I do think it's probably worth 5 gems to have 1 or 2 of these. You're probably not doing a ton of reanimations. You're more interested in the supayas, but if you are going to do it, you may as well add 2 per turn. I think that's totally worthwhile here. What are we getting? Just to show that off here. This was 1 turn with my level 2 priest. So he got 5. This is randomized, but he got 5 of the flying chassis undead and a few of just the regulars. It should be noted that the flying chassis, they don't actually fly anymore. They've lost their wings, their feathers essentially. But they drop down to size 3. The problem with them are they're completely unarmored. These guys are pretty junk. What I would use them for is I would separate my long dead into 2 groups, the unarmored guys and the armored guys. And if I think the enemy is going to be using their priests to try to banish them, I would send in the unarmored guys first to soak up the banishes, just to buy your other guys a little extra time. Yeah, they're basically standard long dead here. They come in a couple of varieties. We have spears and we have mace. And I think I saw a sword on somebody at some point. Maybe not those guys. We also have regular human ones. Much better, frankly. Having the armor gives them 8 protection. That's essentially the protection of our armies. Pretty good with their broadswords here too. I think these guys are fine. They make for decent chaff. And they're just a different threat vector of other things that you can do. Beyond that, jars of fire would be pretty handy. Being able to get in water boosters, possibly. Air boosters are out of reach normally, but we would appreciate those because we probably do want to climb up to storm. Fire boosters with the flaming skull helmet would be kind of nice because we only really can get fire 2, maybe 3, and that'll allow us to do falling fires very easily, or maybe we want to do some of those cloud spells. Could be interesting. So boosters are pretty interesting. Skull Staff, of course, for if you're going to be doing hordes of skeletons, having that extra death level is pretty handy. I don't think we're a nation that particularly wants the thug, but just generic items for your casters and whatnot, I think are pretty good. For national spells, we actually have several. So let's start off in enchantment. In enchantment, we have two. We have the Eyes of the Condor. This is a Air 2 spell, costs 1 air gem. And this is just a different scry spell. Pretty nice to have. If you remember, if you scry a throne, you can actually see which throne it is. And that is super helpful if it's like, oh, geez, I don't know. Is that a 1? Is that a 2? Is that a 2? Is it a 3? When you're doing throne counting of like, okay, what do I need to do to win? Knowing exactly which throne is which throne the enemy has is very valuable. And this isn't astral, so we don't have to worry about having our mage get feeble-minded if he gets caught or something. We are just able to scry. And at 1 air gem, while air gems are quite the premium for us, I think that's fine. It's very usable. Next up at enchantment 5, we have the geoglyphs. These are inspired by the Nazca line art from South America, like the ley line type art. Pretty cool. Requires Astral 3, Earth 2. You actually can random into that, not too hard, or you can maybe get 1 Astral booster. 18 Astral gems is quite a premium. What do you get? This requires a Wasteland, so already iffy. If you have that, it gives you Magic Skills +2, MR for enemies in the province -2, and Ritual Range +1. Why would you care about any of this? Well, if you did have a centrally located Wasteland, maybe you pop this there and you go from Magic 2 to 4 or Forbid from 3 to 5. Do remember there's going to be some penalties for going that high in a scale, but if you're at Magic 5, that's +5 to all researchers, and you can fly, so you could, generally speaking, in 1 or maybe 2 turns, fly all of your researchers here for that research boost. Is that worthwhile? I'll leave that up to you. I don't know, but at least it vaguely has a use. Not the best thing ever. Not the best thing ever, unfortunately. Moving on from that, we have 3 more national spells in Conjuration. At Conj 3, for a Air 2 mage and 8 air gems, we have Summon Condors. Oh, baby. Did you think I liked Buffalo? Did you think I liked Sacred Bears? Well, can I introduce you to Sacred Condors? Why do I love these? They're an okay chassis, but you get 10 plus of these for 8 gems. So these are less than 1 gem each baseline. And if you make a high air pretender, you can get a lot of condors out very quickly, very easily. We'll look at that chassis here in a second, but just keep that in mind. Next up at 5, we have our other 2. We have Summon Huacas. This is an Astral 2, which we can do natively for 12 Astral gems. These are going to be the good aligned Caelum type guys. So these have Awe, and I believe they have Fire Resist. We'll look at them here in just a second. These are pretty good though. These are pretty good. And again, we used air gems for the condors. Now we're using astral gems for these. And finally, we have Supayas at death gems. So we have 3 different gem types that each summon a different sacred, and all 3 are good. And while they probably would like slightly different blessings depending on which one you'd want to focus on, they all can use all the blessings for the most part. That is really, really good. That is really, really good. Supayas, you get 5 of them for 8, but do remember, if you craft the mask, that is our national item, you would be getting 7 of these for 8. That is a pretty good, almost 1-to-1, and these are pretty decent chassis. Let's take a look at all of those. First up, the Condor. This is a really good chassis. For a Conjuration 3, that is a 10 plus summon, less than 1 air gem a piece baseline cost, and it only gets better. You get a flying, size 4, decent morale, okay magic resistant, absolute terror. Siege strength 3.9. That's really strong for siege strength. And they fly around at map move 32, so you could get to wherever you'd like to siege with them. Down here, they are sacred. They have shock resist 15. They are flying, stealthy 140. Good luck patrolling these out if for some weird reason we were stealthed. Mountain survival, siege bonus. They are animals. Do note that is a weakness. And they have a huge patrol bonus. Why do I love them so much? They have okay HP. Not the best protection or defense, but they can take a hit, let's say. They have 3 good attacks. 13, 13, and 12 for attack. And the same for damage. 13 piercing, 12 slashing. That is really good. That means that a single square of 2 of these still has 6 attacks going out of it. So you have good attack density. They are disciplined, so you can give them orders like hold, attack, rear. If one of these lands on an enemy mage, good luck to him surviving all those attacks that are going to come in. And you can just get a fair number of them out pretty quickly. If you focus on rushing this spell and you alchemy all your gems into it at that point, you should be able to cast the spell 2 to 3 times, like minimum. So you're looking at anywhere from, let's say, 16 to 24 of these guys baseline, and you could be a lot more than that. You could probably double that if you went with a high air pretender. And good siege strength on a sacred chassis, you could rush somebody with these. You could take out their capital and siege it down pretty darn quickly, and then hopefully just kill off all those researcher mages in the back line and take a capital pretty easily. Very, very good. I like these a lot. I love summonable sacreds. I love summonable animal sacreds. I wish more nations had that. Absolutely wish they did. Next, the Huaca. This is the kind of light, good aligned type chassis. Sacred. They have Awe 2, shock resist, fire resist, cold resist. Weakness here, they are magic beings, but we don't have tons of magic beings, so is somebody going to spend the time and resources to counter that? Probably not. You don't have that many of these guys. They do have Stormflight. That's kind of cool. Or Storm Immunity. Okay HP. Good stats all around. Good defense. Good protection. They don't have cold power or anything, or heat power or anything, but they do have Fireplate, Bronze Cap, and a Buckler. And they're wielding a Magic Lance. 15 attack for a 17 magic piercing attack. Note you get that nice charge bonus. Pretty darn good. A nice sacred here. Finally, we have the Supaya. These guys are really nice, but they do have some distinct weaknesses. So this is a ghost sacred. Sacred, amphibious. They're cold resist, poison resist. They are undead. They don't eat, of course. They're ethereal, flying, floating. They have a spirit form. Remember, that means you can't target them with things like bark skin, for example. They have spirit sight and storm immunity. They are wielding a spectral spear that is a length 3, 13 attack for 13 magic piercing damage. Do note, spectral weapons, the things you hit, if you hit them, have magic resistance for half damage. So that's a little unfortunate. Note that doesn't say, like, it's not armor piercing or armor negating. So you have to get through protection, and then they get a save for half damage. So that's a little on the weak side, but sacred ethereal flyers that are not undisciplined, very, very powerful. They have a spectral shield, so it has okay protection, okay parry, but no other armor. So if you don't take some sort of defensive bless, these do get chopped down quicker than maybe you would like. They do have okay magic resistance, so they're not too banishable, but given enough time, they will get banished. Morale is okay, but they are not mindless, so they do actually have that morale. They would really appreciate Stygian flesh, frankly. That would give them 10 invulnerability, which does work on these guys. Do note, Stygian rain does not appear to work on anything with spirit form. I guess the raindrops just go through them, but having Stygian flesh on your bless does affect them. I believe if you did go bark skin for your bless, it would not affect them because bark skin does not work on spirit form. So just a kind of a weird little interaction going on there. Remember also that you can summon these in with your holy level 3s or 4s. And if you can get to the point where you're mass producing these, that is pretty darn nice. Having these guys, give them a couple buffs, very, very handy. and just another vector of threat, because you don't have to use these. You could switch to one of your other sacreds, or more likely you're just going to use all three of them. So a nation that actually has A, useful, and B, actually achievable national spells. I wish every nation was like this for that. It frustrates me when we have nations that get so many spells that they never can cast. They might as well just not even have them. Beyond that, just a couple quick spells to think about. You're going to want summon storm power, summon water power, because you might be going underwater. We do have a little bit of water access. Phoenix power, summon earth power, all things we would like. Another one that could be interesting, things that have cold auras. We have troops that have all the cold resistance. So I'm thinking things like Yetis, things like Storm Drakes could be interesting. Just Werevin, summoned in Draconians could be interesting. Springhawks. The problem is, all of those things, they're kind of competing for air gems that Condors are really good with. They're really good. So Fire, Astral, and Air are kind of spoken for. So I think like looking for water things might be something to be of interest. Looking for earth things possibly could be of interest. I don't think we're going to do a ton of this, honestly. I think we're mostly spending our gems on our national spells and crafting. In Alteration, for our non-ethereal guys, protection things are really valuable. We have very bad protection all around, so we would really appreciate that. We have some undead who could be good for fighting underwater or underground, but you may otherwise need some support spells to help out with that. Things that we can find there. In Evocation, we have fire spells, we have earth spells, we have air spells, water spells. We can do fire, water a little bit. Sulfur Haze is a very interesting one here. Fire 2, air 1. And it's an area effect 4+, leaves a lingering cloud. It is heat. We are a cold nation, but the fatigue damage it leaves is armor negating. So this could be interesting, especially if you toss this in front of, say, your undead Chaff that just doesn't care about that. Could be pretty handy. Beyond those, you also could look at Fire Cloud. Again, another one that's a nice large area of effect. And maybe you could toss this in front of your undead. So even if you had some friendly fire, wouldn't be too bad. Be very careful with fire effects near your mummies, though. You're going to have a bad time if you let that get away. This would be hard to do, but you could get up to Freezing Mist. This is more in line with how we're going to probably have our scales. So something to think about there. Moving over to construction, we already spoke about, but definitely going to want those boosters. This is a weird nation where normally Alquils are my #1 favorite thing to research early. I don't know if we do that here. We certainly would like them, but it's very tempting to cast Condors. It's very tempting. So I don't know how disciplined I can be to be creating Alquils when I could be summoning in Condors. In enchantment, Strength of Giants, we really kind of lack damage. We really would like to have earth buffs on that. Same thing with the other earth buffs for Weapons of Sharpness or the stun hammers. Both of those could be good. Beyond that, we do have Astral 2s, so some of the Astral stuff, like having them cast Astral Shield on themselves, helps keep them a lot safer, just in case something does get on them. Thaumaturgy, you're going to want to make sure you have communions available. And if you're going to do that anyways, probably want to go up and get Mind Burn just to have a nice, easy spell to cast that don't have to worry about friendly fire or anything. We do have fire access. We do have access to Battle Fury. And we have not the best attack, so being able to lock things down with Bonds of Fire, or, I didn't call it out in Alteration, but Earth Meld. We have lots of flyers or floaters, and so they're not going to be affected by Earth Meld or its big brother Maws of the Earth. If you're fighting humans, Maws of the Earth cast into the enemy a couple times is absolutely crippling. It's an armor-piercing spell, area of effect of 7+. Remember, our mummies cast at 100% cast speed, so it's not even slow. It is expensive to cast fatigue-wise, and it does require a gem, but it does 15+ magic damage, and it does Earth Grip. So our troops that are flying or floating won't be affected, and then you can just crunch a bunch of the humans, and anyone who does survive, hopefully is going to be stuck. And they require Strength plus DRN versus 23. That is really hard for a human to be able to break out of that. And meanwhile, they're immobilized, so they have basically like 0 to 2 defense, and you could just get armor defeating hits, which are like crits. You could just pummel them with your kind of weaker troops, and hopefully be able to take them out before they can break free. A very nice spell on nations like this that can do it without having to worry about friendly fire, or maybe you friendly fire some long dead. Who cares? You can just make more freebies there. Another spell that might be of interest for other nations, but I don't think we use, is Corpse Band Construction. I do like this, and if you build the boosting items, it is a very efficient spell, but again, do I want 8 Corpsemen or do I want 8 Sacred Condors? I'm going to take the Condors every single time. Also of note, out of construction, we really do like Legions of Steel or Temper Armors, the varieties there. 3 protections to all armor pieces. When you're wearing armor that has like 6 to 8 protection is a pretty large buff. I mean, that's essentially like about a 50% increase in protection. And we can cast this relatively easily. It might even be worth going up to Legions of Steel. We have lots of flyers, we have lots of undisciplined troops, and just being able to battlefield-wide give everyone +3 protection is pretty nice. Note this would not apply to your Condors or the non-existing armor on your Supayas. So would not help them particularly much, but would help all of your other troops quite a bit. Okay, let's bring all of that together. Nazca is a super cool nation that is a duality between the living, toiling under the yoke of their undead mummy rulers. It's cool lore. I absolutely love it. Do note, though, that some of this upkeep gets ridiculous. These are not even the bad ones. I don't have one in this game, but these Royal Malachi, 820 gold. We've had games where our entire upkeep is 820 gold for everything we own, much less literally 1 unit. That is ridiculous. Be careful. And we don't have the strongest economy because we only build up to fortresses. Our admin is only 30 here. This is fully upgraded. Our starting thing here is just the same fortress. The money's going to be a problem. Now, you could do some money changing, but we want to use fire for sacreds. We want to do earth for casting spells and crafting items. That's going to be a hard sell for even a alchemy enjoyer such as myself. Definitely going to want to get out and get building up some nice forts. That's going to allow you to rake in that money. You can see in this game, I'm at turn 25 and I'm making almost 2K. I did just lose a battle against Ulm, a really bad one. So my upkeep was higher, but I just lost most of my army in this game. You can see I've got guys running around, bringing up summoned in sacreds to the front. Very, very nice. In my capital, I made that special prophet and I got him killed so he'd be a mummy who has been reanimating. Pulsipius is like turn 5, essentially. He's just been spamming that the whole time. Very, very handy there. Having flying Holy Threes is really nice, and that allows us to jump to thrones and claim them very easily. No shenanigans needed. Very handy there. In this game, my god had 8 air, so that gave me, I believe, 14 condors per cast. That's ridiculous. That's almost 2 condors per gem. That is so efficient, and you could get up there if you wanted to go with air 10 on a pretender. That could get pretty spicy pretty quickly. Do note, mummies have a map move of 16. Your flying troops have map moves of 18 plus, all the way up to like 32. So you're going to end up with this weird situation where some of your best mages are very slow and plodding, and some of your best troops are very fast. So if you get to like a giant deathball blob, you might be able to be very outmaneuvered. Or at least they'll be able to make you fight them without your mage support. So just be careful of that. Like, if I grab one of these guys, how far can you get? One. Yeah, I don't think there's anywhere I can go where I can move 2 provinces. Whoops. Apparently I don't have my map move. There's 18, 18, 21, 18. Yeah, they only have 16 map move. Nowhere near me am I going to be able to get a double move at all. Whereas, let's say we take this guy. Look at this. Oh, I'll just zip over here. Yeah. Oh, yeah, we can make it there. 19 to there, 19 all the way. Look at that move. Look at that move. I can go all the way there in one turn. My other dude's gonna be 1, 2, 3 turns out. So just be aware of that. You may also want to have some flying forces that could jump into one of your fortresses if you think it's going to be under siege. So if we take a look at a fortress here, wall integrity is only 500. That's nothing in Middle Age. That's nothing. We have things that have like multiple thousands of wall integrity, and we don't have the best protection. It's just some of our junky short bows, essentially, and some human warriors as guards. That's not going to keep much out. So you're definitely going to need magic support. You're definitely going to need to add troops to those fights if you're going to have any chance on the defense. So ideally, you're going to keep things out of your own territory, and you're going to be attacking into them. And that's going to be a lot safer than trying to play the defensive game or maybe lure people into traps. I mean, you could do like Winds of Death or something, traps, which are pretty spooky. But overall, yeah, those slow mages, just be careful. Like when this army came up here, I was conquering down this way when they declared war on me, and it was like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 turns to respond to Ulm declaring war on me. It's noticeable. Be very aware of how non-mobile you are on the map. As for Pretender chassis, we have a very different roster. We've got some unique ones, which I always love to see, but they're of dubious use. This is a nation that maybe I do feel that monsters and titans are a little more interesting than they might otherwise be. Down in Dom 1, nobody particularly special. We do have Frostfather, who's a pretty decent one. Great Sage, if you want an inspiring researcher. Do note you're cold, so you probably don't want a Serpent King who is cold-blooded. Maybe a Great Enchantress if you wanted to do like an Obfuscate Bless, which could be kind of interesting with your very stealthy Sacreds. She also might open up some glamour that we otherwise don't have. Moving up to monsters, I do think some of these are much more interesting than they otherwise might be. A Raven of the Underworld, what I'm not particularly interested in, but maybe you go super cheapo and you have like Stygian flesh on him, and he gets to be Corpse Eater. He can eat 15 corpses per round, and he gets extra HP for that. I don't know how good he is here, but that's interesting at least. Dragons, I do think we can take sloth scales. Most of our troops are very, very cheap to produce. So something like maybe the cold dragon could be interesting. Earth dragon, the air dragon, the Draco Lich. Some people swear by Draco Lich. And if you did take Draco Lich and you went with something, in fact, let's just build one here. We went with something like Stygian, and then we went with, or maybe we even go higher than that. Maybe we go bone mending. I'm looking at the wrong area, sorry. Reforming flesh requires 6 death. So we did reforming flesh, Stygian flesh. Maybe we don't even need that. We're 6 short. Okay, so we do need to go into a second path. Maybe we do some blood. Well, we're not gonna blood hunt probably. I don't know. Whatever you decide. Maybe we go like Mistform. We're gonna be able to cast Mistform ourselves, something like that. That's a little pricey, but we don't need those. We don't need those. We can dump those. I mean, I'm in. Okay, it's at 0. Yeah, this is fine. And this actually is useful on Sapias. Is this the bless I would take? Probably not, but oftentimes people talk about this bless for a Draco Lich who can expand. At least you have a Sacred who can make use of it. That's something. Moving on from him, we have some different unique ones here. We have the Immortal Quaya for 190 points. This is a Immortality chassis. That's vaguely interesting. She has the mummy traits otherwise. Comes in with a Earth and 2 Death. Now, again, as always, that feels very overpriced. I feel like we could do better down here with just a crone, but it is immortal. That could be interesting. You could set her up to do maybe earthquake traps or wind of death traps or something. Being immortal, you can bring them back that way. Next up, we have a Sapa Inca, 200 points. I think that's just too expensive. That's just too expensive for just 3 paths here. On just a regular bird chassis here. We also have the AR. I don't know how to pronounce that one. 220 again. I'm not seeing it. Invulnerability of 15. So his protection is actually higher here. Yeah, 20. But it's invulnerability, so we can't really do much to stack that any higher. I'm not seeing that one, frankly. One of note here is the Heavenly Condor for only 140 points. This is not bad. He does come in with some random chaff. I do believe those are sacreds. And he starts with 2 air for 140 points. I do think that one's interesting. I have a build that we're going to look at for him. In addition, you have the Apu Ilapa for 230. I don't think I would use this guy, but if you are a Titan enjoyer, he does come in with some air elementals for free. That's kind of cool. And I do think, yeah, he has crowns and laurels only for his head, but everything else he has full slots for. So you could fully kit him out. He could be interesting. These other guys, again, very unique ones, but I don't see what we're gonna do with those particularly. Up in Dom 4, we do have another unique one. We have the Stone Huaca. 110 points is pretty darn cheap. Brings you in with some air and some earth magic. Do note that he is unteleportable. We have the Monolith, of course. We have the Sacred Geyser, the Blood Fountain, and the Oracle. These give you some chassis that would be pretty good for quickness. Quickness is a very good buff for us. This could be something like larger regening. That could be pretty decent for us. So we have some options here. Let's go ahead and take a look at a couple that I made. We have Tainted Well. Tainted Well is dormant, comes in with quickness, Stygian flesh, and defense. So this is going to make your sacreds much, much harder to hit. And remember, our condors have 3 attacks each. With quickness, that's 6 times 2 per square. That means you have 12 attacks per square, decent attacks. And remember, quickness adds 2 to attack and 2 to defense. So they're going to hit really good. That's giving them like a 15 attack. The extra defense is nice. I had some points, so I added even more defense. Stygian flesh is higher than your condors have for defense, and it stacks either on your Waka, or it gives some invulnerability to your ghost, so I feel that's kind of another universal. I feel like this is a pretty darn good bless, and it's only dormant. You're not really going to have very many sacreds in year 1. I find the expansionalization is pretty sucky, and this does not help that, but our scales are okay. In fact, you probably could even give him Sloth 2 and get something somewhere else. You could go with a little growth to counteract some of the cold deaths we're going to get. Or you could go up here and maybe find a few more points for maybe a little extra additive up here. Next up, we have the toughest grandma. This is a fully, I managed to get her down to dormant. In fact, maybe, well, no, I would probably keep her dormant for Stygian flesh. But this one's interesting. We have lots of sacreds. And they're not the highest quality, so you're going to have some attrition, even under good circumstances. When that happens, Righteous Wrath stacking with Blood Surge is ridiculous. 3 attack, 3 strength, 1 defense, 1 invig. 3 attack, 3 strength, 6 morale. So you're looking at plus 6 attack and 6 strength. That would help our sacreds a ton. We don't really have great damage on our sacreds, and this would absolutely skyrocket it. Either if you lose somebody or you kill somebody, you can get that ball rolling. Enchanted Blood does work on your ghosts, so your ghost can heal up from this, and everyone else, of course, can have that and stop bleeding. Stygian Flesh, I feel this is a nation that absolutely loves this bless, because the fact that we have ghosts that otherwise have 0 protection and just a junky shield that probably will get chopped through even if they do manage to block. Undying plus Enchanted Blood is a good combo. This will let even your living troops survive to -8, and then they can regen up if they win combat and they're still alive. So a lot of stats here. Everything except for Stygian Flesh is online at the beginning, so this will actually help with your expansion some. And you were not going to have ghosts that early anyways, so this will come online around the time you might be starting to get a few ghosts, so you definitely could do that. You could even make the argument, maybe you go imprisoned with something like this, and that frees up a bunch more points that we could add to this. Other things we would like, extra strength, extra defense, things like that. maybe a weapon bless of some sort, something kind of cheap, like acid maybe, or I don't know, solar weapons maybe, something like that. Something kind of cheap. I don't know if we could go all the way up to like a big one, but more points to be had there to be sure. I mean, that's an extra 204 points you could pop in there. Next up, I have two versions of Bird Gang. We have the Awake version. He has Thunder Weapons and Stygian Flesh, okay scales, and he starts Awake. He's going to try to help research. You end up with like 20-something research. It's not great, but I find it's very hard to get research early on because we're going to be making very slow, very expensive mages. We need to get a slow to recruit prophet. Then we need to get him killed, and he's going to start resurrecting ghosts. So you're probably going to need another slow to recruit Holy 3. You're going to need some scouts. You're going to need some leadership. That's not a lot of researchers. So having even just a little bit, you can pretty much guarantee by the end of year 1 that you can get to Conjuration 3, which means you can summon in Condors. And who's going to do it? Well, Condor Daddy himself with his 7 air, or excuse me, his 8 air. So that's going to bring you in, I believe, 14 Condors per cast. So 14 times, let's say 2, very conservative. That's 28 Condors for your first year 1 war. Or maybe you can like do some alchemy, or you found a site or two, and you could do 3 casts. Now you're up to what, 42 of those? That's a hard amount of sacreds in the beginning of the game. And they're going to have 10 protection from Stygian Flesh, and they're going to be having there are 3 attacks, each one of which can proc your thunder weapons. That stacks up a lot. You're going to see a lot of people getting zapped through their armor, or stunned from the lightning damage, or just getting worn down by the fatigue damage. If you like this guy, but you said, well, I'd like some better scales, this is Bird Gang After Dark, and he went from Awake to Dormant. And with those extra 150 points, we actually put some scales in. So now we have Turmoil 1, Sloth 2, Hold 3, Growth 1, Fortune 2, Magic 2. So the idea on him is we're hoping for some events that will give us maybe some free mages, maybe some money, because we're going to really be struggling for money in the early game, maybe some gems, maybe some items. I think this is a good build. I think it's, if you're not going to rush, I think I prefer him. Yeah, you're going to be a little slower, but when you come out, you can just spend your first 4 or 5 turns summoning in Condors and catch yourself up on that. You're not going to be that far behind there as long as you get a few researchers out, and hopefully you'll get a few events that will more than make up for that. So I think we have lots of options. I didn't even really make any like huge Hell Blesses. I'm not really a Hell Bless type player, but if this is a nation, I think you could do that just because we have so many sacred options. We have very mediocre troops for the age, and we have very expensive mages. So all those things combined, I think we need to lean on the power of our sacreds to carry us through. In conclusion, Nazca, one of the 4 big undead nations in Middle Age, and by no means the weakest, having the threat of flying units, having the late game ability of moving into a gem economy, especially because our mummy austerity is going to absolutely bankrupt us most likely. We can summon in Long Dead with priests, which is always rather nice. Even a junky little Akla, if she turns into a mummy, can at least summon in some Long Dead to help. We have swarms of units that maybe we can get some early game advantage from. They would like to get buffed, and we have the mage pathing to be able to do that. We have some good sacreds that have good, actually castable path requirements. We would really like to get out there early, getting an Inca and a Quaya each out site searching. 2 fire, 2 air, 2 earth, 2 astral, 2 death. Very important, because we really would like to get that gem income coming in. Or alternatively, maybe you invest some of those early gems into some range site searching. I could see value in that. I don't know, that's a little hard to justify, but if you can, that would be rather nice. I think I mentioned water a couple times, but I don't think we have. I think the water I had was from a random mage event I got. Those luck scales coming through for me there. Okay, Let me know what else you know about Nazca. I'm sure I missed a few things here. This is a very multifaceted nation. And I think there's a lot of different routes you can take with them, which is hard to make guides for, but very good to play because you're not a one-trick pony like, say, middle-aged Caelum, which you're not really going to be surprising people with. Whereas Nazca, I feel, could, depending on your bless, depending on your scales, could have a couple different routes that they can take. All right, I hope I will see everyone on stream. If you enjoyed this one, don't forget to leave a like on the video. If you want to go above and beyond, don't forget you can support the channel directly with super thanks, joining us in stream with a super chat, or consider becoming a channel member. As a channel member, you get early access to videos I'm working on, usually Dominion's pre-games, but that can include whatever else I am working on. And I look forward to seeing you on stream, builders. All right, get out there and start slaving away for the mummy ruling class. And I'll see you on stream. Babble out.